This is Sarah, and this week I'm working on Shibon again. It's been a while and I'm happy to get back to it, but I had a bunch of other stuff I needed to get done and out of the way, and I'm back from Ars Electronica now, so I can focus on where my heart's at, and it feels good. I'm particularly working on the hotspot this week, which is the peripheral responsible for separating the thighs to produce a gap in between the legs. Leg gap. Yeah. So this week has been all about hip-mounted winches. Similar to the propeller pasties, I'm running into the issue where it's difficult to connect mechanical things to the fleshy parts of your body that, you know, can't really move, but they do because they're flesh. And the hips are no exception. Luckily, we have this wonderful stationary piece of our skeleton structure known as the pelvis, and the pelvis doesn't move a whole lot. I'm creating a belt that's 2 strips of plastic that crisscross in front of my tummy and kind of sandwich each side of my pelvic bone. So once it's tightened, the flesh just sort of like pokes out and protrudes, which is good because the belt can't really move up or down a whole lot. It's just sort of faceted there. On top of the belt mount these fins that look kind of like mech fins, those hip things that stick out on the giant robots. And hopefully the fins hug that protruding bone of my hip just right that they can't move a whole lot. This is the enclosure for the winch itself. So the winch mounts inside of the fin, which then mounts onto the belt. So that's how that's going to work. So one of the things I did about a month ago now is I went over to my butt technician's house and he helped me figure out exactly how many pounds of force it will take to displace the flesh of my butt, which is a serious technical question to answer because I don't want to spec too weak of motors or too strong of motors because each creates its own problem. So the right amount of torque is key. I did find out that it takes 10 pounds of raw force to displace my thighs the proper distance from one another, which I think came out to about 150 ounce-inches of torque. So I kind of went up a little bit to allow myself some breathing room and got a 200 ounce-inches the pounds that it takes to spread my butt. Pounces. I'll just call it pounces. 200 pounces of torque force to displace the meat flesh. So I ordered one of the motors and I worked on the specific mounting point inside of these fins and I printed them. The other purpose of the fin is to route the tendon or the cable coming off of the winch so that it's held at the correct trajectory point to create a nice line going down the contour, I guess, the slope of my butt. So it's supposed to kind of create like a direct angle of approach so that once it pulls, there's nothing fighting it and it will just displace the flesh as it's meant to do. I'm somewhere in the middle of all of this, in between prototyping the fins and the mounting and getting it all to fit just right. Because again, this is a really sloppy, inexact science that I'm trying to figure out here. And hopefully once it's all said and done by the end of the weekend, I'll have this utility belt that I can just fasten onto my meat, and it will have the pokey fins with the tendon reaching back around my bum, and it will do the pulling. The next step is to figure out how that's all going to adhere properly, because again, attaching the tendon to flesh is going to be another interesting endeavor, because there is no exact mounting point for a cable on my butt. So I'm gonna have to use adhesive, or Gorilla Tape. I don't know. We'll figure it out, and I'm gonna document all of that and do a more formal update that explains everything from start to finish, including a little bit more about the hotspot in general. But until then, as always, thank you for watching and keep making awesome stuff out there. And I'll see you at SuperCon at the end of October, or rather the beginning of November. I think it's the 2nd. But yeah, if you're gonna be there, I'll see ya. And I'll be wearing all this stuff with bells on. And hopefully it doesn't kill me.